Dude, have you seen Elon Musk like talk? It looks like somebody's controlling him with a remote control, man. Like
Yo,
it's
he
like
has
you
cheat
press a
codes.
button, he smiles. I press a button, he cries.
And welcome on to the Speakeasy podcast. I'm Daryl,
And I'm Phil.
I'm Messiah. What's good? What's good?
and we're back for another episode. Another
He's
Wednesday.
returned, the golden child.
Yeah.
Ah!
Wait, speaking of how is Ramadan for now? Oh, yeah.
It's pretty chill. It's pretty chill. It's less difficult than before, obviously, because in the beginning you're not really used to it. But most of us have been doing it for so long that it's become a habit, routine. It's just like okay,
But I
I'm
mean, like
fasting now.
now that you don't really work too much anymore because of COVID. You know what I mean? Like, isn't it a lot
No.
easier now? It's still
Yeah, it's way easier. Like most of the time I stay home, so it's not that difficult. It's
Exactly.
just that like if I had workouts involved in my routine, stuff like that, it would be more difficult because I don't have access to like water and food during the whole day. So it makes it a little bit more difficult.
Right.
But other than that, not bad.
smooth
Not
sailing.
bad.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
smooth
well
sailing.
speaking of workouts and what was the other one? Never mind. Speaking of workouts or the lack thereof, what do you guys think of about the sort of the fluctuation between COVID restrictions and all of the rule changes and the spontaneity of it?
Right. So I find it very interesting tracking uh, the public reactions and what the outbursts that we hear about on the news and seeing what are the different methods and what are the different goals of those groups.
Yeah.
Because a few days ago, now a week, there was a kind of violent
Protest.
demonstration
Yeah.
near Old Port, Montreal.
Mhm.
And I think that group has different motivations, or rather intent, than other groups that have also been protesting certain measures. So it's interesting that there are different currents. It's not just like there's not just two sides. There's layers to it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you think the protest that was fair, or was it sort of just outrageous? Like, it was like
That one,
yeah, the riot and the whole like, do you understand why they were doing it, or was it sort of just like, oh, just a bunch of kids doing some stupid shit?
I
Yeah.
understand why, but I don't agree with the methods or the
Yeah, for sure.
what
Just
was
people had
happening.
enough, like people when they're locked in their house in their like bedrooms for like months at a time without seeing like friends and family and stuff, being distanced, it comes to the point that there's like limits to like certain people, it's just had enough. But it's not an excuse, obviously. The only thing that they're hurting is local businesses,
Yeah, that was
people. They're
That
just
was-
hurting each
yeah.
that was
hurting each
outrageous.
other, basically.
They're just making
just-
it worse for themselves
just
for the rest.
making-
of the
They're
lockdown.
making it worse for themselves and others. There's businesses that have been affected. Windows are breaking and stuff like that. Like they're throwing chairs at in stores. What they do to you? It's
Well, I
not
mean-
it's not a response. That's just violence.
It was the same. It was the same vibe as the whole BLM protest that happened last year, where they used it as a smokescreen, and they basically raided like Steve's guitar shop and all those.
Yeah, that's so stupid, man.
So
I think there's a big difference between, if we're talking the movements involved.
no, I'm talking about the reaction in terms of those specific people who trashed the local businesses. They were
Right.
just finding an excuse, or rather a distraction.
Yeah. They were
They're opportunists. They're
Yeah,
opportunists.
exactly.
It's not like another word I could even think of. They're opportunists. They want to
Yeah.
take the advantage of the chaos to
Yeah.
either rob or take
Yeah.
something that's not theirs.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, is that they also see it, like you said, Daryl, as a smoke screen a bit, where they get to be a bit like not held accountable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, because just chaos everywhere. So
They see the violence as a distraction for them to follow their own like agenda, their own like plans, which is
However,
to raid stores.
I do understand though why those people are, because there's ultimately for the longest time now, people blame the specific demographic for the cause of these
Yeah.
spreads, right? And the thing is, I don't think it's fair to blame just the young kids who are partying all the time, because seeing as not many of the young kids are the ones traveling and bringing those sort of new variants into the country. You know what I mean? They're
Mhm.
partying, yeah, they're being close contact, but the thing is, they're sort of in within the same space. Whereas, like, people who go traveling or go on vacation during the summer, who happen to be more towards the middle-aged businessmen type deal, those people are the ones who ultimately bring the variants in.
Well,
So I mean, yeah,
yeah, that's statistically the most spread of the virus has been through work areas.
Mm.
So yeah, people traveling for work, people
Airports and
in
stuff like that.
workspaces,
yeah,
and well, schools now, because the government decided to open the
yeah,
schools, right? And that created a bit of dissonance between groups that argued. On one side, they said, "Oh, but the kids need some social interaction,"
yeah,
which is a fair point, that it is important for human development.
yeah,
But then countering that, others said that that would just spread it. Like there's no, it's just opening the floodgates, right?
yeah.
And
I
that's
think
what happened.
It's
there's a
like
big lack
poking
of,
holes in a water balloon, man.
well,
Yeah,
It's gonna leak.
there's a big lack of organization in terms of how to like manage all of these problems.
and not just that, concerning like the how the government addresses the people. A lot of people, I understand why there is vitriol and anger with these new protests, because the government, at least here, has been taking a bit of a paternalistic stance where they've been blaming people and not the regulations.
Yeah,
Mhm.
They've been saying, "Oh, well, you guys are partying too much," but the government chose to open schools. In
mm,
fact, schools did not want to
yeah,
open.
yeah,
They were pressured into taking that decision
Yeah.
by the government.
well, that's
They
the
So
were
thing though,
just they
because
were doing just fine with online classes. The government's the one that decided to be like, okay, teachers
the
go back to school, kids go
yeah,
back.
and also the teachers were also very concerned about the new
the
protocols and all
teachers
that
did
stuff.
not want
Yeah,
that.
they
They
didn't want
were
Mhm.
to.
pressured into it.
They were very much against it.
What I
Yeah.
find quite disturbing is the fact that they saw, there was a big, it was, well, a relatively big dip in terms of like the new, well, the previous variants, and like the cases of COVID got, started slowly going down. And I feel like those people had like this sort of mentality, like, oh, since it's going down, might as well restart everything, right? It's kind of like, let's not stop the spread, let's just slow it down type
Mhm.
mentality.
Right.
And I feel like that's the whole idea of like the whole reason why there's so much like just was it that, like, it's all chaotic and there's no like real orders, because they don't really aim to stop it, they aim more just to slow it down. And so it's kind of like saying, okay, let's deal with the problem, but then once like the problem's relatively gone, like it's not gone, but it's still there obviously, but as it's it's relatively gone, then we can have fun again. And
So we're
then,
kind of stuck in this loop.
yeah,
So kind of
exactly.
like
It's
so
exactly
Yeah,
going
that.
so going up and down and up and down and up
Yeah, we're
and
gonna
down.
keep at this rate. We keep kind of falling back into our old ways, and then it spreads again,
Yeah.
and then we're confined again, and it just ad infinitum. It's not gonna end.
And then the whole idea of like, because now they're implementing what is it, hotel sort of quarantine zones, when like people
Yeah,
come in from outside of town, whatever,
yeah,
they go into, they're mandatory quarantined inside a hotel for 2 weeks, which is great. A little
Which
too
they
late
pay
for that,
for.
which is, yeah, oh, yeah, by the way, it's the people who have to pay for it, it's not the
Yep.
fucking government, so it's hilarious.
Most ridiculous shit.
But
Yep.
it's,
2 weeks, huh?
I find it, yeah, 2 weeks. I find it quite hilarious how it's like this late in the game, and they're like, yeah, let's do this now. Let's do this
right.
now, but not really to the full extent. Like we're not really serious about it. Just like sort of showing. It's like a show. To be like, look, elect me next term, because look, I did this. See what I did?
Right.
Hotels.
Mhm.
Right.
I know what I'm doing.
Uh,
It's like,
Let's see what I did.
I think
it's
It
literally
kind of
that.
looks like that, isn't
It's
it? Yeah,
literally
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like
it's
when
true.
you look at
It's
the
true.
like the press conference for like our PM, for example, you you clearly know he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah.
Like it's very clear that like he's been told what to say or what sounds good to the ear. Like, hey,
Well,
maybe
that's always the
Yeah.
people in those
Yo, that
positions
meme
always
killed me. It says like,
Yeah.
it said I promised to open on June 24th, but I didn't say which year.
Which year, yeah. But the thing is, like
Oh my God.
beforehand, there was like a little facade, like, oh, maybe he maybe actually means it. Now it's really like it's a joke. Like it's
Yeah.
like, you know what? Let's go. Let's bring a curfew at 8 o'clock, and then like a few months later, bring it back to 9:30. Oh, actually, you know what? The statistics say that 8 o'clock was better, so we'll
I
bring it back
still
to 8
don't
o'clock.
get the curfew. I don't get like if like time kills COVID. Like is it the
Well,
clock?
no, it's
It's like after
because
8 it dies, or what is it?
they're discriminating
Yeah, exactly that.
a percentage of the population, teenagers that
Yeah.
go to parties
Yeah,
at
they're
night.
targeting a demographic.
So they're trying to stop parties from happening, basically.
the
But
thing
they're
is-
only stopping one thing out of like 60 things that cause it as well.
and also the parties the parties don't exclude during the day, so like they could just party during the day, and then
They
I
just
still
keep-
do exactly like what the
like
fuck?
barbecues in the backyard is still fair as long
Yeah,
as it's
picnics
before
that still
8 o'clock.
exists, right?
So
I
there's-
think, I think they should start by closing schools if that was the game they were trying to play.
yeah.
You know,
Which they will never do.
no,
Well, they'll close schools to like for like maybe 2 months, 3 months, and be like, oh, you know what? Development for the kids, so let's open it back up without
But that's
no
only a
measures.
temporary
No-
closure. They won't like close it till like until further notice, kind of. They
Yeah.
won't do that.
but I understand why, but it's just there's something about populations that, I mean, we have the perfect example recently where you could only push someone around for so long
Yeah.
and a group for so long until they start getting pissy about it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And people, whether they're right or not, people don't like being told by the government what they can and can't do. They don't like having sudden arbitrary restrictions put on them. And when
And they shouldn't,
people-
because it's gonna turn into a dictatorship. If you're
Well,
gonna
that's the thing, when
listen to
people-
everything the government says, well, there goes your freedom.
Some people argue otherwise, but the thing is that either way, when people clearly see that the rules that are imposed on them are arbitrary, so aren't like based on any like
Yeah.
objective like reasoning, or just it's
just
an attempt, right? It's we're betting that maybe this is gonna slow it down.
Yeah.
We don't know, right? People don't react well to that. They when they see through the veil of the authority, then they get really testy
Well,
around.
it's not just that. It's also the idea of like having basically using the statistics and using like the law of what was it, the to make sure like the public health law, where to impose mandatory quarantines and whatnot. Like they use those laws and those rules whenever they see fit. It's kind of like, okay, we'll open the schools, and then like make the quarantine like, I don't know, 9:30, and then they change it. They were like, oh well, because public health allows me to do so. It's kind of like using the rules to like whenever you want them to, but you don't apply
But that's the
them
thing, it's
instantly.
arbitrary. It's all up to how they feel at the moment.
Yeah.
What are the rules?
Well, that's the thing.
But they use their excuses based on like, oh, in the name of health, we will make you remain at home before 8. Like they're using the wrong excuses to justify their
There's
their
also-
decisions.
We've been talking a lot about the government's hand in the issue. I
Mhm.
think we should talk about some specific companies, specifically U.S. based ones.
Oh, this is getting interesting.
Which one you have in mind?
So there's a company owned by a Mr. Musk,
Sure.
and
I knew it. I fucking knew it.
and Mr. Musk has high key threatened his employees during the peak of the first wave. I don't know if you guys remember that,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
but he high key threatened to fire them if they didn't come into the factory.
Sure.
And that was when that was not legal. and yet he had that power to be able to get people to get their unwilling asses to work.
And people
you know?
still showed up to
Well, I
work.
mean,
And he
Yeah.
still
but
had
no,
to show up.
I mean, no, that was their choice. They could have been fired. Be like, ah, fuck it, I'll get fired. You know what I mean?
I don't think
Must said you'll get fired if you don't show up. I'm like,
it's
okay,
not must it's not really a choice because a lot of people rely on their jobs.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
So-
no,
And
a lot- a lot-
even if one of them,
the
and
first
yeah,
wave,
go ahead.
especially the first wave, especially that was when every single unemployment thing. Well, granted, in U.S. is very different, but here, for example, everyone basically actively decided to be fired. So
Right.
it's kind of like, hey, you don't show up, I don't show up. Now, granted,
And
yes,
plus,
US is
like,
different, yeah.
and plus people like Elon Musk, they have a lot of power, you know. Even if a lot of people decided to stay home and, you know, let it be, get fired, even if they will like countersue Elon Musk for firing them for an unjustifiable cause, I mean, they're syndicated, right? They have rights. But even that wouldn't save them from being fired and being left because they have that much power.
Yeah.
They can
It's
control their own
absurd how
employees
much
and
power.
and high key force them to do their bidding. So
Yeah. So that's what I want to ask you guys. What do you think about in this is an example, but you know, he's not the only one. I'm not trying to say that Mr. Musk is the only one, but he's an example of those that has so much power over others. What do you
Jeff
think
Bezos,
about
for example.
his use, his lording of power during the first wave of COVID? What do you
What was your question?
like? What do you think about his ability to use power? And I think the only justification that he's given is, well, we got to make money, you know.
Well, also, I think his whole, because I was watching a podcast, well, many podcasts basically of big ownerships of companies, and what was it, of Elon Musk also, and he was talking about how he didn't really see that as a big threat. I mean, it was sort of more of a it's kind of like the flu, for example, like influenza. And so like the whole ideas of like sort of making this like a lot of people nowadays, they realize that COVID is not really that incredibly
That
dangerous.
serious?
Yeah, it has like
Yeah.
a 1% chance of mortality, which is like, I mean, you have more
That's
chance
a
of getting,
lot for.
well, 1% compared to, like, I don't know, Ebola had 50%. I mean, there's a big
Yeah.
difference. You know what I mean?
It's pathetic compared to other viruses.
Like, to be honest, the cold, you could die from the cold from pneumonia. I mean, like, it's the same thing, or get
and it
hit
still
by-
has higher chances than COVID.
yeah, or get hit by a bus. Like, I think the rates for car crashes are
Bro, I
incredibly
swear
high.
they told me you're most likely to die from a cow attack
So
than
you
you
know what I mean?
die from COVID.
No, no, I'm saying, like, the thing is, like, like you could implement those structures of being like, oh, we will give, we'll give a curfew limit for people underage, because they're people who are like below 25 or whatever are most likely to end up in car crashes. You know what I mean? Like, it's very much
Right.
like you could use
So-
whatever concept. So in a sense,
So-
with Elon Musk's whole idea, for me, was sort of like, yeah, okay, yeah, to an extreme, threatening people to fire them is kind of like a very Donald Trumpy, and
Yeah.
and, it's very
Yeah,
much
a
like a
bit.
like ultimatum type of thing, and it's,
Yeah.
you're most likely to have your employees complied and to sort of resist you, but at the
Sure.
same time, like, with US's tendencies, like, I'm not really surprised.
For the US,
Not
that's
surprised
a
at
one
all.
thing, you know.
I mean, over there and most of the countries in the world, money talks. Right? Almost every time.
Yeah.
Whoever has the most money does whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And for example, like, you know, Elon Musk, he has like how many billions of dollars? I think he's the richest man on earth right now.
Yeah,
Right
he
now, I
tied
think
with
so.
Bezos.
I think it's Elon. So for a guy with this much power, it'd be foolish of him not to use it to his own benefit. It's just greed, you know. It all comes down to money. Like he wants his factories running because that's what's making him money, and he's not going to sacrifice that because of a stupid virus that only kills 1% of people.
It
That's his
only kills
logic.
those
And
stupid factory workers that he doesn't even have to look in the eye.
Goddamn factory workers, always the ones slowing me
that's-
down.
that's what I'm saying. Greed. It's greed. There's no other explanation than greed.
I think it's also that I don't think Mr. Musk can relate to
don't
what
know.
is a factory worker or who are those people? He has never seen them, so like
Well, the
obviously.
thing is, yeah. Well, those that I feel like that's sort of a big argument that a lot of people have towards like rich people and sort of like
Mhm.
they're like, oh, they don't put in the work or they don't understand that stuff. But the thing is, in a sense, they're the ones who started the company, so they came from
Not
the bottom.
necessarily.
Well, in Musk's case, yes. I mean, he went to bankruptcy many times. In like 2008, SpaceX and Tesla went fucking bankrupt. So
Yeah.
But if you look up his history, Mr. Musk, Mr. Musk's father made money off of some slavery money,
I mean,
and then transferred that to Musk.
yeah, he's South
So
African.
Whoa.
it's blood money.
It's
so
South African, but I mean,
like
Really?
yeah. So it's a bit shady. Like you can't say the
I
self-made
didn't
man
know that.
exists. That's a complete myth.
yeah. But the thing is, well,
And I'm not saying that's like that disqualifies someone as an industrialist or whatever.
no,
but
I get that, but sort of blaming it simply on because of the person's rich is kind of like a very easy argument to say.
well, it depends what they do once they are.
Well, but
like
the thing,
I
yeah, but
agree with that.
Mhm.
I
it's
think
like saying that basically it's like, oh, because they never went through ups and downs. Like in terms of
no, I think that's not fair to their lives or to who we don't know them personally.
exactly. So it's
But
like,
what I think is in a case where we're looking at the situation, if we're looking specifically at Mr. Musk within COVID,
Yeah.
it's corporate greed, and it's him disregarding COVID because it really advantages him to just say, it's a flu. Like
But
a
to
lot
him,
of people are taking it seriously, and I think that Mr. Musk does take it seriously on a personal basis. Like I believe that
like
he's
you mean
not,
he protects himself?
sure,
He takes the
but I don't
precautions
think
for
he'll
himself.
protect
Yeah.
his people that work for him because he doesn't see those people, and he's not like. I think.
But if you look at it through a business point of view, right? Let's just say that you own a multi-million-dollar company, right? And that company relies on its workers being there in their warehouses working, right? So in his point of view, keeping his factories open is a priority. So obviously, if he sees the stats and he sees like not many people are that affected from the virus, of course he's going to do whatever he can to keep the workers working.
and also, yeah, from a business perspective, I don't think having your staff be dead is a good thing. You know what I mean? So
No,
Yeah.
no,
I
but
don't-
the
I don't-
mortality rate,
that's what I'm
rate
saying.
of
But
the
like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I don't think like his what he said or what he set out to achieve, and by saying that was sort of like personal greed, because ultimately, if his workers go to shit, he goes to shit. You know what I mean?
pretty much.
So that's why like it doesn't
Somewhat.
really help him to have really like high cases of COVID in his factories.
I mean, I hope he
Yeah,
shuts
which
down
is
for
why
like
he
3
shouldn't
months.
have
You can
gotten
buy his
them in.
stocks.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But like the thing is, because he as a businessman, he knows what's good for his business or not. Also, he has a bunch of board directors and all that. Those people
Yeah,
who are.
and he's afraid that his stock prices will crash down and he'll be worth nothing.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, like
You
how
can
about
buy a
having
Tesla stock for like 50 cents.
hey, I would do it.
That'd be great. I'd be racking up,
But like, no, I'm saying like because like for me, all the same thing with like for my chain of my grocery store, like they don't even prescribe fucking tests on the way in. Like it's just like you know what I mean? There's no screening or whatever. There's no like temperature test. There's no like they don't even give like masks at the front, but you have to actively go up to them and say, "Hey, can I have a mask?" Like if you don't, then you can just use your own mask. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like for me, like those like industry or big companies, to me, it's sort of like they're just putting on a show to just make sure that the public people know that they're following the guidelines, but low key
And to keep the government off their ass too.
yeah. So that's why, like to me, like it brings me it sort of gives me the idea or the impression rather that they don't really they don't see COVID as a big issue.
Yeah, that's another thing I wanted to bring up is, so right now we talked about these imaginary stats about how we feel that how dangerous COVID is, right?
Sure.
But not a lot of people take a look at the stats. Not a lot of people see the stats changing as well.
Sure.
And so through the different waves, there's a difference between like the mortality rates, or rather the spread rate.
Yeah, the different variants of.
Yeah. So I think the thing is, we see different institutions in society reacting differently to it, depending on how they view is this a personal danger to me? If it is, well, then I must take measures. If it isn't, it's just a flu. You know, like there's a bit of a different narrative going on around, is COVID dangerous or not? You know?
Yeah, because it's kind of mixed up too. There's a lot of people that are confused. There's a lot of
Yeah.
confusion that's
Well,
in the air.
I think one thing that is very clear to me personally about how I feel about it is it'd be disrespectful to all the people who passed away to say that COVID is not a threat in any measure. I think
Sure.
within certain spaces, particularly concerning the elderly, which is not I'm not personally willing to sacrifice a portion of our population for any reason.
No, it's wrong. Of course not.
But I think that Mr. Musk has specifically made that decision, though, and a lot of people have, and that's the thing. I feel like it all comes down to how we view this thing, this invisible thing, and what it genuinely, materially impacts in our lives, right?
Dude, have you seen Elon Musk like talk? It looks like somebody's controlling him with a remote control, man. Like it's
No, he
like
has
you
to-
press a button, he smiles. Like press a button, he cries. I mean, for a guy like that, I wouldn't like bet that he will sympathize with people that are actually like suffering from this. I wouldn't see him as somebody that would feel the pain or feel like the suffering that people actually went through COVID. Like I know people that like have permanent damage because of COVID. They're recovering at the moment as we speak, but it's just that the effects of it is like you can survive, but it's just the long-term damage done to your lungs, to the parts that are affected by it. It's forever. It's permanent, and they'll live
It's
with
not
that.
only about deaths. You're right about
And-
that. That's something
And I don't think somebody like that would understand, because he has so much of everything that he doesn't really feel it. You know, it all comes down to how much power a person have
Sure.
versus how much he'll feel what the rest of the world is going through.
right. What's their material connection
Exactly.
to what's happening?
Mhm.
Yeah.
He,
so that's
he
why
can go to the moon. You know, he could go to the moon with
he
his
could
fortune
just dip to Mars.
and be like, you know what,
Well,
the
that
world's
was
gone
his
to
goal.
shit.
That was his
I'm
goal.
gonna go.
He
I'm
wants
gonna
to die
dip.
in Mars. He wants to die in Mars. That's what he wants to
He
create.
wants to ditch during COVID. He's gonna leave.
But the thing is, ultimately, I feel like because those big companies like Tesla and Amazon, ultimately the workers gravitate towards that because they offer jobs, right? But I
Mhm.
think
Well, yeah.
I feel like also the same. That's the thing. Like, if they really wanted to, the workers could just go find some shit, or like they could go and get something else. Because if they all leave, if the workers all leave,
I disagree with that argument.
Very
I think-
tough, man.
no, because
Very
check.
tough.
Listen, the same thing happens right now to my grocery shop. Right, a lot of people are leaving, and so the whole idea of them sort of like them losing employees and stuff, they ultimately get less and less workers, and therefore less and less profit. So ultimately, they'll change the little rules in order to sort of appeal to those people. So I feel like it's a two-way street in terms of power. Like
No, I mean, people can go on strike, but they can't quit their jobs. They need it.
no, I'm saying no. Those specific jobs, they
Yeah.
can threaten to leave their jobs, have a group
Yeah.
of people. It's called like a mass agreement. It's sort of like
It's very difficult to organize something like that. Most of all, when all big companies, and almost all, try to dissuade the existence of unions, of the ability to organize workers independently from the company, it's very, very, very much discouraged through very clever propaganda that tries to dissuade the idea of unionizing. So I think it's in the States in particular,
sure.
inherently like near impossible to get all your coworkers to agree to simultaneously quit. There's always going to be 5, 10, 20, 30 that say,
Granted,
"No, I'm
They're not
sticking
willing to
here."
do it. They're
But
not
the thing
willing
is,
to do it.
but
They
the
keep
thing
their
is,
mouth shut.
those are the same people who are ultimately fucking whining about the corporate greed and all that, and all of the having one person be the god of all of their domains. Like, it's like you have a choice to do so. If you want to do something, you could do it yourself. Like, have a
Very
group.
true.
Like, I can't, like, I don't stand for the idea of like saying, you could blame everyone for why your life is shit. Like, that, for me, that doesn't make sense.
Well, I don't believe in blaming the people, but the systems of oppression.
Yeah.
Is the idea.
But that's
So
the
I
thing.
think
Like,
companies and mostly the existence of billionaire CEOs that hold that much social and capital power within those industries have the ability to, and not because I don't believe any CEO is directly like physically hurting any of their employees or
no, of course not.
wishing them bad or in
Well,
any sense.
The Mr. DT has many times,
Mhm.
but
Okay,
yeah.
I don't think they're consciously wishing bad on others consciously.
Sure.
I'll say
But they're doing
for
it
the most part.
constantly.
Yeah. It's
For the most part.
scare tactic.
But I think that they are waving their money dicks around.
For sure.
It's funny visual.
And those money dicks are connected to nooses around the necks of all the workers. So they wave it around, the workers choke.
Yeah. But in
That's
a
a
sense,
very funny. Philip says they're getting dick slapped.
no, it is actually, it is, to be fair. But the thing I find quite hilarious though is that because the US doesn't really hide that stuff. Everybody kind of knows that.
No,
Yeah.
it's all over social media, man.
And so everyone knows that,
about
but yet they still feed into it. That's the thing.
Yeah, because of very clever, long time instilled propaganda that makes you just be a bootlicker, make you just fall in line, because that's the way things are. Don't change anything.
Well, I
you
mean,
know?
yeah. To be fair, academia is sort of like, it literally creates workers in order to like, they don't
Yeah,
encourage you to be entrepreneurs. They
That's my
encourage you to
primary
They
issue.
want you to
with
be a
academia.
gear, man.
basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel also like the thing is about those types of people though. It's like I don't know. It's very different. You can't really do much about it in the sense that you can't, like, I mean, unless you have a class action lawsuit that's pretty fucking clear.
You can't. That's why I think there are only two ways. One of them that I don't agree with, and one that I do. So, number one, the one I agree with,
Top 10 best.
through government regulation, you
Yeah, they're-
reform the system to have protection for those at the bottom of the pyramid.
That's not happening. That's not.
So that is
That's
extremely
not-
difficult.
not happening.
That's
Yeah.
triple hard mode because the guys with the money, they don't want no legislation like that passing, and they got the money to make it not happen.
Well,
Yeah.
the ones running for the elections are the ones with the most money. Like, literally,
Yes,
have to pay for your campaign.
exactly. Because you need the money to have a campaign. It's all about the money.
Lobbyists.
Option number two, violent revolution.
Yeah, let's go with that
And
one.
you
Which
see,
leads
that's
to
what's
nowhere.
happening. And I'm not talking about just people protesting, because that's not inherently violent.
No, like legal protest, like the peaceful
Legal
protest,
protest
that's
is
fine.
different.
That is
Yeah.
fine. But as soon as it comes to like
But
breaking windows and
that's
destroying
the
businesses,
thing,
that
though,
is not okay.
is I feel like those who do violently protest or who go a step further, I understand their thought process and their motivation. I don't agree with the methods, but
Yeah.
it's not very surprising that when backed into a corner, at the end of the day, the human being is an animal, and a trapped animal just squirms and just claws all over the place.
Well, it's a
But
fight or
mind
flight.
you,
It's a fight or
but
flight
mind you-
response. Yeah.
mind you, it's not everybody. It only takes like a couple of like idiots that have bad intentions to show up and to like ruin everything and get the cops involved. Like it's really like
Oh,
it just depends on a few people that go absolutely berserk and they
Yeah, so-
ruin everything.
I've got a good example of that. The Capitol riots.
Yeah.
The the Capitol riots would not have happened if it wasn't COVID, I believe.
Uh,
Well, it was a trigger, definitely. It would have been different. There would have been a
no,
different catalyst.
because Donald Trump, I think he really encouraged it.
Yes.
There
Oh,
would, there would have been a
yes.
different catalyst. There would have been a different catalyst if it was.
I mean, he
Oh,
did.
yes.
I mean, he did encourage it like a lot. To like, hey guys.
Well, he was
you
on his
know,
way
I'm-
out anyway. What do you have to lose? It was on his way out anyway.
Hey,
I mean,
he wanted to go out with like shooting blazing stars behind him.
With
know,
the
like,
eagles
go out with a-
screaming.
he wanted to go over like Iron Man, bro. He wanted to hit it with a snap, and then everything goes to shit. You know what I mean?
No, he's
Thanos
all
this-
yours.
Thanos, this shit, bro.
Yeah, the Capitol riots, I think, of course, it's politically motivated and specifically by people in power.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that were blackmailed into supporting said riots after the fact, where they were held hostage for a sec. Like half of the GOP, the Republican Party, was shocked by this, right? They were
Yeah, they weren't.
appalled.
They,
were
were, they weren't in.
because usually they say that their opposite, every party does this, but says that their opposite are inhumane, they don't respect the law, you know, they do their nasty protests against me, you know. And then the GOP was stuck saying, oh shit, our own guys did some terrible things. They did something like a coup d'etat, really.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And so they can't defend that. But then half of them, a few weeks after the fact, were blackmailed by a particular benefactor with a lot of power and money who owns maybe a set of hotels, let's just say.
Sure.
And you know, they changed their tune about it.
Change the
They
story.
just shut up about it and they were like, I guess I'll fall in line, you know? Because the money.
Especially if they have pictures of them being at the riots.
Yeah, they have footage, bro. They have leverage.
You have pictures
how
of them
many-
like under the desks, like
Like with the oh my god, especially like
actually,
the
to
people
be
that
fair-
showed up with like jerseys with numbers.
Yeah,
And they were immediately spotted, and I was like, why would you wear something just to like expose yourself so easily?
back
They
back
got
to
they
your.
thrown in.
wanted
internet.
to be exposed.
No, but that was like sort of like they were there, like, well, oh, what's going on?
Yeah,
It was like a
oh,
film, it
God.
was like a documentary.
Where's
But
the deli? I don't know. I thought it was there.
back to your.
What's going on here? I thought this was a Wendy's.
But back to your two sort of ways of changing it. I believe there's a third way as well. You could play the game.
Oh.
You could play the game long term, and then once you're on top, you could change it yourself.
Yeah. Oh man.
But what does that mean, playing the game? Because does that mean also participating in the oppression, or does that mean?
Well, that's the thing though, because you know the idea of like Schindler's List, where sort of like you play a facade of like, oh look, I'm actually using these people as workers,
Right.
but you're actually harboring people and like treating them well and stuff.
Yeah, but that's also thinking that the means justify the ends, where
Well, I
you
mean-
will be participating in. You will crush the soul of someone. Under
Sure.
you.
I mean, but you can't satisfy everybody. That's impossible.
Fair enough. I think that's what the people on the violent revolution side believe as
But
well.
no, but that's more of a personal thing where they're actually actively pushing, beating people up and like destroying businesses. In a sense, this is more
those
passive,
people,
though.
I don't think they believe in anything.
No, they're just,
I don't
they're
think-
just having fun. But I mean,
No, I just no, yeah. I think they don't really care about what's going on. They just want to take the opportunity to do whatever they want via
I think
the
that's-
moment.
They're different from the even the more rowdy protesters are not the same breed as those who just destroy local businesses.
There's a lot of types. I noticed like there's a lot of types of
It's
protesters.
not one group. A protest or any kind of social movement incorporates so many different cells that have different beliefs on what this whole movement is about, right?
And I thought like when protests happen, I thought like, oh, violence happens,
Well,
too
no, but
bad.
yeah.
But it's actually like specific kinds of people that start those violence,
Well,
those violence acts. There's
yeah,
people that show
yeah.
up with like spray cans and spray like graffiti on like windows and shit. And like these people like show up on purpose to hurt others. these are the kind of people. That's who they are.
Not
They
just
show
that,
up just
but
to do that.
That was back to my
I've got
idea.
a
Like,
doozy for you guys. So there are reports of people hired by certain like
Oh,
individuals.
Antifa, like Antifa.
No. Okay, Antifa, but people hired by people that oppose
yeah, and then
a protest.
to make them look bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
To break shit, cause a bit of a fuss so that the media portrays them as this wild group, this Antifa. Oh, they're so scary.
Yeah.
Some people get
And
paid
as
to do
a
that shit.
militant group of sorts, even if like
Yeah.
they're not organized, and there's no one at the top of Antifa.
Well, it's a form of
there is no
defamation.
hierarchy.
It's a form of defamation, to be fair.
Yeah,
It's literally like, hey, yo, you know what? We don't like you. We'll dress a couple of people that looks like you, and then we'll
exactly.
have them completely destroy shit.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember. There was one of them was caught. It's this guy with an assault weapon.
Yeah.
Who entered the BLM group, and he was gonna start some shit, and then the other BLM protesters started some shit with him.
Yeah.
And the shit got off the rails a bit, but luckily I don't think anyone was killed. But
nah, if shots were fired, we would have heard of it.
Exactly,
for sure heard of it.
But he entered with an assault weapon,
Yeah.
carried.
Stupid,
Clearly,
man, so stupid. They could have
and then
easily
they
gone
looked
out
at
of
his
hand.
badge, and he was hired. He was a mercenary, hired by, what was it? Like an oil company or some shit.
Yeah, I mean,
What?
Ridiculous stuff.
That's fucked up, man.
Well, I mean, what do you want? That's the thing, though, because a lot of people have their sort of their own reaction to things, and then there's others who have their own personal agenda. So that's why it's sort of impossible, literally impossible, to please everybody, because ultimately you're doing something for good, and then someone will take it as a sign. Yeah. Oh, look, the sign tells me to do something bad, and then it's like
you're gonna kick it back, of course.
And someone will think you're the bad guy, whoever you are.
Yeah,
however nice, however kind, however you try to
even your intentions were good. Yeah.
And in fact, when you stand up proud and indignant towards inequality or towards something that you think isn't right, that's also when you'll get the most shit from one side.
Well, yeah.
And you'll get to know like who stands on what side as well.
Well, I mean, speaking of basically having one specific demographic or particular part of the population dictating everything, what do you think about the idea of well, back to COVID, our original topic. What do you think about the prioritization of a specific demographic in terms of vaccination? Do you feel like it should have been sort of access to everyone, should have been prioritized to caretakers, to nurses, priority workers? Do you think younger people, older people, it's fine but how it is? What do you think?
Right. So
I mean, you want to go ahead, Phil? Go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead.
Thanks. So I feel like prioritizing the elderly was a good move, especially because they're the most vulnerable ones, and to save the most vulnerable is the right course of action. But I don't agree that they're just keeping us waiting for no reason for the rest of us that actually need the shot to be able to go function in society again. And here's another thing I want to like add on to it. Trudeau, when he was at the parliament, he said that regardless, even if you have the vaccine, you can still catch it again.
Yeah,
that troubled me. That troubled me very much because what's the point if vaccine doesn't work?
I'll try and apply what I know about it, but basically I agree with what you said about prioritizing the elderly, because the thing about the vaccine is, from what I understand, it doesn't mean you can't catch it.
Yeah,
it just means that you cannot be severely hurt by it.
It's sort of another system of defense.
It builds up your defenses against it. It doesn't mean you cannot catch it.
Yeah.
So it's like a power-up mushroom. Like you can still get hurt by it. Like,
yeah, that's why it's necessary to prioritize.
It lowers your fatality. It lowers your fatality, but the
exactly. So that's why I agree with you about the elderly being the priority, because of the nature of this vaccine. The best move, I think, is course, protecting those that are really in danger first, right? The
But
thing is, there's a huge percentage of the population also that is that their immunity systems aren't very strong, and I think those people should also be given a priority, whatever their age is.
Mm.
So I think that's another thing, is that we're not taking into consideration the
People with pre-existing conditions.
exactly.
yeah,
So I think there should be something not just for the prioritized workers, but there should be a clause
well,
for
yeah.
depending on your health, depending on your dossier.
Yeah.
You know,
But I mean, now the current variant is targeting our demographic.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
mean, like
Apparently, the Brazilian.
it varies between variants. So like that's the thing. Like for me, prioritizing one specific demographic over like the rest of the population is kind of like, well, I mean, you know, like you can't.
it's complicated of a choice to make. That's
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
They
very, it's
have
very.
good reason to do that. It's just that
Yeah, but it's
they
like
should have done it
literally,
fast enough.
it's literally limiting. Like you, like it's no like, oh yeah, we'll give you like an exception because of your prior health issues or whatever. It's like literally like you, if you are not part of that sort of demographic, you cannot get it. And
Right.
also,
That
also
is
and
something
restructuring what a essential worker is kind of really unfair.
yeah,
based on-
that's another thing where it's like it's arbitrary. What is the definition of
yeah.
that? What is the definition of anything? Well, it's always up to what the
It's very
consensus-
subjective.
Yeah, well,
It's very
what is-
subjective, isn't it? Like anything could be essential to anyone at this point. Like
Yeah.
I could say that Bureau en gros is essential to me because I buy a lot of books and I buy a lot of
I need
office
pencils.
stuff.
No,
Yeah.
that's the
And without
that's a
pencils, I
very
can't write.
interesting thing though about productivity in our society, because it's a good moral question of, is something that is important to your work essential? Because one would argue, yes, it is, because it is how I make money and thus how I live. So it is essential, such as food, right? But then another could argue, no, because you don't need to flip burgers to breathe. You need food, you need air, you need, that's what you need. That's all that's essential, right?
Yeah, but
So essential.
but the thing is, if you don't have to flip burgers to eat, how do you get food? You know what I mean?
But that's what I'm saying, is that there's two sides,
That's what I'm
right?
saying.
One,
I mean, that's
one
why
would
restaurants are
argue-
still open, but with
that's the
regulation.
thing. One could definitely argue that
That's
saying that like work is an essential component. So everything that is work, thus everything is essential.
Yeah. And, well, I mean, like, yeah, fitness. To be fair, fitness is one of the most essential things because that ultimately strengthens your
God.
immune system.
Your health.
Thank God for that.
I
To be
will
fair-
argue that everything is essential.
To be fair, though, what I don't.
It's
I don't
very
understand-
subjective. You're right.
To be fair,
It's
I
very
don't
subjective.
understand why they don't like make outside gyms or like outside what is it those gardens, not gardens, those what you call those, farmers market, that's the word.
Oh,
Farmers market, where they have
Farmers market.
they have
okay.
everything outside, so it's sort of like
I love those.
sort of aired out, and you don't have like there's proximity meters and whatever.
I have never been into a farmers market. What the-
Really?
I have never been. I
That's
should.
nice.
That's why
I should go and buy a pumpkin. That's my first priority.
Yes.
not the right season.
Essential
then, but it's fine.
shit, you know?
Not the right season, but sure.
It's okay.
Essential.
Soon.
Soon. I need the aesthetic, but
It's essential to me.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of like parks where they could have literally set up like I don't know, like calisthenic workout places, areas, and where people could go for jogs and like, ultimately working out and staying healthy is probably the primary way to strengthen your immune system. So like,
But the reason they didn't do that is because they were scared that at some point it will also get out of hand. Like there's gonna be a lot, like too many people in one place, or it's going to contribute to the spread.
Yeah, we have an example of that 2 weeks ago. You know the case, the reason why gyms are closed again here.
yeah, because
Oh,
in Quebec.
yeah, in Quebec,
Well, it's because there's a case of one man who was an anti-mask,
Yeah,
and I think was he the owner of the gym? And
I
he
think
passed
so.
it to like a couple hundreds of people because
Yeah,
of that. Like
and then one gym became
300
like
or-
Yeah.
Everybody got infected.
But that's the
Everybody.
thing though. Those gyms are indoors. I'm saying like creating outdoor areas where
But
you
even
Yeah.
outdoors gyms could go wrong because,
no
like,
because you're
for example, like if you have an outdoor party, like a rave, for example,
that's it. Okay.
it's still outdoors, but you're like surrounded by people.
Yeah,
It
but
defeats the
a,
purpose
a
of being
rave
outdoors.
a rave's whole purpose is for people to be clogged up together. I'm talking about like there's a lot of
True,
places like
but
the
I'm
park for
saying, just
example.
as an example, like the people gathering in a small
Yeah, but
space, even if it's an outdoor gym, it's still a
But
risk.
like check and many parks have like those track and field areas. There's a lot of people that go in there, but they understand that there's proximities. We have to be away from each other,
That's
so
true. That's true.
they don't stay in one spot. Like logic, like granted, you could think
Yeah.
that people are really dumb and like they don't move, but I don't think I think people have some sort of reasoning to understand. Like what, maybe I should probably stay away from people to just be safe.
Just to keep my distance, I get that, but it's just that people, they still are afraid of contact as well. Like,
Yeah,
for example, like gym equipment. That's one of the reasons why they didn't want to open gyms anymore, is because,
Yeah.
okay, maybe if it's outdoors, but the equipment is the same, people touch the equipment, and not
Yeah.
everybody's clean. So not everyone's gonna wash after themselves. They're not gonna
Yeah,
wash the equipment,
first of all, that's
which
Sounds
is
like
nasty.
regular.
Yeah, of
that's
course.
our
Like,
I don't.
people nasty like that.
You know what's funny though? Like before, even prior to the pandemic, gyms. Well, I think most gyms they encourage people to clean after their workspace
Yeah.
after you work
Yeah.
out. Right?
Dude, I worked at a gym for like 2 years, and believe me, the things I've seen, bro, I lost faith in humanity
You know,
and cleanliness a long time ago. I
hey,
swear. Like, I've seen people like take the fattest dumps and head out right away back to the equipment and start working again. I had to go up to the guy and tell him, listen, man, like, for
that's
like
outrageous, bro.
safety and health reasons, I will have to ask you to
No,
leave.
that's just for common
That's
sense reasons,
exactly
but
what I
that's
told him.
fucking nasty, dog. What are you talking about?
I swear to God, bro. I've been working there for 2 years. The shit I've seen, bro. People are lazy, man. They will not even wash their hands after they take a duke.
Yo, Phil, you still have faith in humanity?
I'm
I'm telling you, I
hard
lost
here.
it. Yo, I swear. But if I spend like 20 minutes just telling you what I've seen,
Yo,
Phil will have like
Phil
the rope.
converting to nihilism real
Phil will
quick.
have like the rope already set up. Like, oh my God, this is
Oh
too
What's
much.
the point? What's the point?
I hope I
Morals-
never become a nihilist.
Morals, fuck this shit. I don't care about morals anymore. This is overrated.
Phil's gonna buy
Anarchy.
a one-way ticket to the Caribbeans and never come back.
We get to decide what we do now.
I'm gonna go with Elon Musk. I'm gonna go to Mars.
Yo, head up to the
Oh.
moon. Moon is more vacant.
Yes.
Damn it.
Nobody
I
explored
will
the dark
fund
side.
SpaceX just to get out of here.
But like the thing is, like it's you would hope at least for the sake of your own safety, you would clean up
They
after
wouldn't
yourself.
care. They don't care, bro. They will literally look. The plastic
Yeah.
sheet they put like between.
Yeah.
Some people like remove it and go under it so you could talk to you at the cash. I
Yeah.
swear, like, why did I put it there so you can go under it?
Yeah.
People don't have the same sense of responsibility than some people have. So if somebody like after he's done his business in the bathroom, like the most responsible thing is to clean after yourself. So not just for your own
Most
health and
responsible
safety.
thing. It's not even most. It's like priority, bro. It's like
Yeah, exactly.
It's not
I'm saying
negotiable. Fam.
Exactly, but I'm saying a most responsible thing because some people don't do it. That's what I'm saying. Like people should think logically, but okay, it's not just for my own health and safety; it's for others as well. Because I'm not alone in this establishment. If I do something stupid, everybody's gonna get affected. You know,
Hey, but yeah, hey,
that's my point.
to be fair, we're in the middle of a pandemic and we have like probably the most protests in a year. So you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's a rave, fam. It's a rave out here.
It
It's
is a
Oshiaga
rave,
every
man.
weekend. It's Oshiaga every
Yeah.
weekend.
I've covered for the newspaper at least like I don't know 10, 15 of them in Montreal only.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
know-
been people have been getting more involved in things, and that's something I wanted to mention as well. COVID has brought this state of mind for people where you're kind of just locked in all the time, right? So we're all confronted with this
ideally,
one
yeah.
thing, this endless thing that perpetuates knowledge, feeds us a little bubble of what we believe in already, called the internet. And through this, we learn things, we kind of are confronted with the nature of things happening around the world, right?
Sure.
And since we're not like going out doing things, we're like forced to ingest this in a sense.
I think
Like
also looking
a
for
lot of
for a
people
purpose.
can't block it out anymore. You
Well,
can't just be doing your life and say, well, you could say, I don't know anything about politics.
It's hard to put yourself under a rock
It's
these days.
becoming, yeah, you're willingly putting yourself under a rock, and you're also like, you can't not know. You can maybe not understand, maybe like, but
That's why I'm saying like most people are confused, but they certainly know about it.
But
Just-
they're all
just
looking for a
confused.
they're all looking for a purpose. That's the thing, because nowadays they're sort of like lost and like they're in limbo, so they're looking for something to cling on to.
that's the thing. I feel like a lot of people now have the time to either educate themselves in relation to some causes or to what is happening and what they believe in relation to what's happening. So I think that the kind of rise of more and more substantial protests, just specifically talking about protests here, not about like
Because personal ideals is a whole different story.
well, I'm not talking about like things like political campaigns or riots. I'm just
Sure.
talking about like protests, peaceful protests. But in those cases, I feel like a lot of people now have the luxury of sorts. I don't know if I suppose it's a luxury to be educated on things that are actually happening around the world and like actually read up on what they can do to help, what they can, like the uh, since we're talking about protests, like the people that were putting money for bailout after the whole George Floyd thing, right? People knew now a good, efficient way to try and help someone out. People have been. It's like an extent of the. I think that type of thing started with like Kickstarter, where you could just fund something
Yeah,
that everyone agrees they want.
or a GoFundMe page.
Yeah, exactly. It's the idea of like you could socially act from your couch. You could just be like, people want this. Let's put money in this. Someone will pick it up. Someone will call the masses.
But to talk about that, it's the one thing though that I find quite unrealistic in a sense is that a lot of people often share different problems in the world, right? So they go on social media and raise awareness for stuff, which is great. But the thing is, it's sort of like you have so much time on your hands and you have there's so many problems in the world. Like often a lot of people, especially in the West, are expected to sort of like fix all these problems and be part of the all of these
there's something
movements.
to
Be
be
part of
said
the
about
solution.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the problem is there's so many freaking problems, and you have your own personal problems to deal with. It's almost impossible to do so.
There's two very interesting ideas in what you've said as well. Is one of them is what is known as American exceptionalism. It's the idea that we, and I'm including Canada and America because the continent is called America.
Sure.
But it's the idea that
corporate greed, we get the whole continent.
Yeah. So we as Americans, for some reason, we are like the police of the world. We are the future of the world. It's like the idea that because we are American, we're like
expected
on
to
the
be
world stage. So something going on in Iran, we have to get involved for some reason.
The Americans really like tapping the panic button a lot.
Well, I like being the heroes of the world.
Exactly. And presenting ourselves as the heroes.
Presenting. Yeah.
And the thing about that is, well, when it concerns the United States
it's more John Walker than it is Steve Rogers.
Yeah, it's a facade to go and get some oil in the Middle East. It's often that, but it's often like this for individuals. It's like this idea that like, oh, I'm born on this soil where heroes are born. It's the place of.
Yeah.
The Americans will only get involved into problems where they can benefit from it. It's been repeated over history. Yeah, and it's clear the U.S. government doesn't care about the other countries. They only care about themselves and their own benefits.
The funny thing is, it happened way before the U.S. Like different, all of the major
Yeah.
major forces of the world were always the ones being like, "Look, we're the
Empires.
greatest." Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the French, the
If
British.
Yeah,
if
so
they were so great, why aren't they intervening in China with the Muslim camps that
but
they
that's the
started? Why
thing.
didn't they get involved? They didn't say a word. Not even
Right.
it wasn't
No
even
one.
covered. It wasn't
No
even
one has the
covered in the
guts.
news. Nobody had the guts to say a word because China's
Nope.
had America by the balls.
Bro, they're the
Economy.
BFFs, bro. They have all the merchandise from them, bro. They're
Yeah,
subsidiaries.
exactly. China's got
Exactly.
them by the
Just by the
balls, bro. They
balls.
can't do nothing.
You can't do anything about that. Like,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
China is metaphorically Elon Musk here compared to America.
If a country was a person, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Well, China's like, hey, don't act up. I'm gonna fire you.
Elon Musk
yeah,
is
but-
shaped like China.
On welfare.
But that's the thing, because the whole world's set up in a way that there's always a benefactor to your cause, and the biggest dude, in this case, China being the biggest dude, is sort of like the one who gets to say, so I don't like this, so delete that shit. But I like
Yeah,
this
like,
one, so we'll keep
Leave
this.
now.
If you don't delete, I will explode everything.
Big
But yeah.
bomb go kaboom. Don't piss me off.
And so,
Yep.
in a sense, like a lot
Big
of
red
people
button
have,
there.
well, yeah, in a sense, a lot of people have this sort of faith in, they're expecting the next generation to be like, okay, let's hope that this will be different. It's like kind of like you're kind of.
Well, we said that every generation.
That's what I'm saying. They're kind of educated to be that way, so they can't change.
It'll never change as long as we depend on the countries that do harm. We can't stop them. That's the thing. Like China is such a big player in the capitalist world. You know, it's so obvious why people are not saying anything, because if they do, they'll get killed, or they'll just not exist anymore.
Or not get the money.
Yeah, which is part of being killed financially as well. That's what I meant.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's also why the thing is, I still believe that we can do better. Like we talk a lot about gloom and doom on this podcast, and I'm guilty of it as well. But I genuinely believe that we can usher in some positive.
Yes, we can. Zibaldo. Yo, remember that shit was hard. Hey, that was a saying that our math teacher would say when like wasn't.
Oh man, that was funny,
calculate
man.
the I forgot what it was. I think it was the perimeter of a shape. I remember. I forgot. But it was
I think it was the area. Yeah,
an area. It was yes we can like.
Oh no, it was. That was
volume. I don't remember.
Who was it? Who was that? It was our teacher from Sec 2, man.
Yeah, it was Mr. Dayon is our math teacher. But anyways,
yeah.
But no, to be fair, no, I agree with Phil. It's just sort of like the idea of trying to. I think the best way to change. I think the best way to change is to focus on yourself and what you could do yourself.
It starts from within. Of course, it starts from the individual. Yeah,
because you can't be like, yo, you go up to fucking Donald Trump, be like, yo, I don't like this, change that shit.
No,
like, it's impossible.
You cannot do that.
You can't do that. So the only way is
who are you?
the only way is to
Who
become.
The fuck are you?
You go up to him. You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
I don't even know who you are.
But yeah, but that's the thing. I know a lot of people have this sort of this ease of just blaming everything. I don't feel like that's productive at all, in a sense like you sort of slowing your own potential down by sort of saying, oh, okay, this is the reason why I fail, or this is the reason why the world's a piece of shit. But yeah, we all know that. It's just that in order to change it,
state the obvious, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of like in order to change
it. At least there's also a thing to be said.
Or Instagram posts, man. Like I it's just mind-boggling. I gotta say this. I'm sorry, Phil. Like I gotta like.
Go ahead.
It's just that I know that people are concerned. I get the point. I get the intentions. I get why they're doing it, but it doesn't change anything. It doesn't. It just makes you okay. It's just, I swear to God, 99% of the people that post about like events that happen, for example, like the death of Dante Wright.
Yeah.
Like, so some people just post about it because they feel pressured to post about it. They feel like obligated. They feel obligated to talk about it, because if you don't, like you're some sort of like weirdo, or like you're some sort of, or you're a guy that evil. Like exactly, you know, or people that like post about like poverty. I'm like, okay, don't post about poverty. Help,
Yeah,
like help.
actually actively
Go
do something.
donate. Yeah, exactly. Go give
Right.
food to the homeless or
'Cause I
something. You
don't
wanna
think-
you wanna help poverty?
Because like raising awareness is like it's like saying like we know this. Like it's like saying like the world doesn't know this
Not
stuff.
everyone
Like
knows.
it knows. Like I see it all the time. Like stories about like it's people. I swear, it's people that don't do anything. They just post on social media and they think that they're helping. But like
Yeah,
I
get
get
that
I
point.
get why people post. Like trust me, I know why. But it does. You could do so much more. Like if you actually like believe that you can help, there's other ways you can do that. You know,
Yeah, actual
Yeah,
foundation
well, I
is
don't
but
good.
they just stop themselves.
yeah, I don't think just posting is what changes the world, but at least for people that are in your own direct environment, I think there is usefulness. Well, because what Daryl said as well, he said that that starting with a change within yourself, right? So once you've done a change within yourself, what's the next thing? Your environment.
Your
Your
act.
environment is who's directly
Acts, yeah.
talking to you, right? So let's say you're in a community, an ethnic community with very conservative mindset. How do you change things? Well, one by one, you try to enlighten people onto your cause. You try to show them
Sure.
why what you believe in is worth believing in, right? So in this day and age, I don't think it's like a big surprise that people turn to the internet for that. It's just
It's
a very quick, very easy way to show things. And I'm not gonna say that everyone who has ever done this practice is 100% like right on the money. They know necessarily what they're posting about, but I think to disregard the act itself is a bit bad faith. You know,
Sure.
it's like just
no, like
thinking
you don't
you're
have to
connecting with
post to
but it-
care. That's the
but
thing.
it-
You don't have
That's the
to.
thing that I have to
Definitely
like. I
not.
have to explain this.
Yeah.
I really have to explain this.
That's true.
I know people that don't post a single thing.
I
But
don't.
every year, I don't either. You know, I hear the news. I know what's going on, and whether I could help in any situation, I will. You know, with the best of my capabilities. I
I
don't need to
think
brag about it. I don't need to
Yeah.
post
Yeah,
about it.
it's very yeah.
It's bragging. I'm telling you, like most people do it not because they care about whatever happened. They just do it because they want to self-satisfy themselves.
Yeah.
They want to like satisfy their own
They
like
want to feel
feelings. Or,
validated.
like,
They want to feel validated.
exactly.
And so
They want to
that's
feel
why
like they actually meant
there
something to
are
this, but they
people
did
like that,
nothing.
but I
They
think
do
that
nothing.
resuming the entire act as being just represented by those people undercuts the reason why the act is
Yeah.
being done.
no,
Right?
I get that. Yeah.
There are people, yeah, that is true. I think there are people like that. But I think it's more productive. Like we've said, the most important thing in this case is being productive at what we're trying to attain. And it's
Like
more
people at
productive.
protests, peaceful protests. That's productive. Like
Yeah.
that's something you can do. You wanna say something. You wanna like share your idea. You wanna support something that's right. Go protest. That's the right thing to do. Like
Agreed.
don't tell me posting a post talking about this is protest. It's not protest.
Yeah.
Protest
Also,
when you go to the actual.
also
thing.
also the feel the thing is when you do like confront some of these people who post stuff and you actually want to know what their ideas are because they like to share these ideas, right? They don't
Yeah.
really have like real ideas in the sense that
They didn't even have an opinion. I
Yeah,
swear to
exactly.
God.
It's
They
very
just
much
shared it.
it's very much like it's very much sort of like, oh, because to me it feels that way. So okay, I mean, I get that stuff, but like why do you think that other people are? It's like sort of like only seeing one side of the picture kind of a thing, right? So when you're sharing it, it's like, oh look, these are my ideas, but I'm not interested in yours.
Well, that
Yeah,
depends.
just read what I have to say.
being
You don't have to
discussed,
say
because-
anything else. Yeah, fuck. No,
Well, I'll counter that by saying that if, like, let's say someone posts something about George Floyd, and then you respond by you DM the person and you say, "Hey, I'm interested in discussing with you. I think that George Floyd is
No, yeah,
no, you think it's justified what
Yeah.
happened, you know?
yeah.
I don't think the other person is gonna be very receptive towards you.
No, I get that, but I'm saying like,
Emotionally involved, right? It's a very emotional situation, which you can't really like extrapolate emotion
Sure.
from
The
conversation.
only
the thing-
thing you
but
can
the
do
thing-
in
but the thing is,
situations like this,
Check. Because like, remember back when the whole BLM movement first started, there was a whole hashtag post where just they posted a black picture or whatever. They're following
yeah,
a certain page right on Instagram, and
the
then like.
stupidest shit I've ever seen in my
But
life.
the thing is, after like not even a day, not even a day, they realized that they're following the wrong thing, and so that they were sort of blocking all of the actual real posts by
Yeah.
posting black. Those people.
That's why it is the stupidest shit.
Those people happen to be the ones that are sharing all of these stuff, but then they were counterproductive to the actual movement.
Yes, yeah. In that case, you're absolutely correct.
Ask anyone that posts this stuff. Ask anybody. I tell you. Ask him. Did you attend the BLM protest, or did you say anything about the BLM? He's like, no, I never went.
That's why. That's for me. Like,
Why'd you post it then?
The thing for me, like, I understand like Phil's point where it's sort of it's a really good method to raise awareness and sort of like to show, to tell the world about the actual problems that that we're dealing with, and sort of, I guess, like bringing more support in the sense.
But raising awareness is a good thing. It depends. Like, look, it depends the intentions. If the intent is to raise awareness about something like people don't know about it, like you have to inform people, that's fine. That's okay.
Right.
But just posting because it's a trend, just because everybody's doing it, doesn't validate it as raising awareness. You understand?
I don't know if it's because I'm a cynic or perhaps maybe it is, but like for me, like I feel like majority of the people are just saying it because, oh look, I'm popular now. I'm
just
part
to
of
be
the movement.
cool, or just to be cool, man.
I deeply
Whatever the reason
sympathize
is.
with you, Daryl, for your very cynical beliefs. I'm really sorry that you have to live in that world. I'm glad that I live in a world, or I believe in a world where I don't think that it's a 50% thing. I'd like to believe, and from what I've encountered, and at the end of the day, once again, if it's all about productivity,
Sure.
does it matter why?
No, if it's all for productivity, yeah.
You guys about that if you have different opinions, but does it matter why? If at the end of the day it gets the job done and it doesn't hurt anyone, like in this
Well, it
case,
doesn't do anything.
Means justify the ends. It's just, does someone like being a bit of a like glory hog or being a bit of a like wanting some good attention?
Let me ask you guys a question. I want to ask you guys a question. Does posting the black font picture on Instagram, did it change anything? Did it save anybody? Aren't they still died?
And that says actually quite the opposite, I think.
People still die. It didn't solve anything. Whatever they're doing right now isn't helping the cause. Like when they were like posting like BLM with the black font. Remember that they posted on Instagram?
The hell hashtag,
yeah. Like it didn't help. Like it doesn't help. It's just a trend. How do I explain this? It's like,
but those people, if they retain, if anyone retains anything from that demonstration, then there will be more people at the next protest. Because ultimately, the social media aspect is just trying to get some partisans to show up at the protests eventually.
You can post about the event. You can post about like, okay, we're gonna have a protest in this location about this.
People directly, because like the reason why people post directly, like like there's these posts that in stories sometimes that it's like graphic image you have to like click to see it. I like that because at least it doesn't like forcibly traumatize
trigger warning. It's a trigger warning type
exactly
thing.
I like that.
Viewer discretion is advised, kind of.
But yeah, I think that allows people to then interact and then see the footage and like make their own minds up about how they feel.
Consensually see it,
exactly. So I don't see anything wrong with that. But I do get that if it's all about the protest, remember to put a link to the protest, to remember to point that there is a protest. Don't just say
just like
things are bad, because we get a lot of that. That is true.
You know what you could do? Like I've seen people that actually has done a lot of good things to people that have been affected by police brutality. Like for example, donating to Dante families, like donating money to them to help support like his family, whatever. That's a good thing. I find it very productive. What else? like raising awareness by like going to peaceful protest about it. You know,
There's another thing.
things like that is fine, but posting like
This
like
this this
BLM matters with like the fists like this.
yeah, this reminds me a lot of the
That's
ice
nothing.
bucket challenge, where it just became a fun thing to have fun.
You know what?
And-
That
and
was
then they-
fun.
and then
That
they
was
would do
fun
it-
because I got to nominate you.
But the thing is, they didn't do it right. The thing is, you have to put, the whole point is to put a lot of ice and for it to chill there, for it to be
Yeah.
cold, instead of just putting like two pieces of ice and like, oh look, oh, I'm soaked. It's like, for me, like, it's not a sort of, it's more of a mockery, sort of taking something that's real and saying, oh look, we made a fun gag out of it. Meanwhile, people are actually suffering out of it. It's sort of
Yeah,
like,
that is a
disrespectful.
good ethical question about, like, is it dehumanizing the impact of the initial problem? That's a fair issue. I think once again it's all about measuring, like, is this a cost? Is this
Yeah.
like, what at the end of the day, if the goal, which I think most people would agree is the productive, progressive, like, change in society, right?
Sure.
I think most protests would agree
We'd
with
hope, yeah, we'd hope that was their motive.
Hope so. Then in that case, I think we could agree that most would say that as long as the cost is not too great, then most actions are viable.
Sure.
So that's a bit where my stance would be on that.
Well, I guess we could leave it up to the public to decide.
Yeah.
Since this is the whole point of the podcast, for all of you guys to
Yes, for people to like
to react and ultimately create your own minds about it, and
Yeah.
see how you guys feel about our topics, and
Yeah, our hot takes.
discuss it upon yourselves. And yeah, so it's been Daryl,
Then Phil.
It's been Miss Sarah.
and this has been the Speakeasy podcast. We'll stay come back for, I guess, the next episode on next Wednesday. So yeah.
Yeah.
Peace.